Welcome to the Sound of Movement podcast. Today we're continuing our week on training psychology. This is a really good one because today we have Nalesh, who is a physiotherapist for a professional AFL team in Sydney. He's been working with professional athletes for 9 years and he's got some good stuff for you to hear.
Let's rock. If you're new to the tribe, we got Rich behind the mix, Rad across the table with me, Yanni Baumeister, and we are Unity Gym, experts in turning driven people into athletes. This episode is brought to you by our Unify Movement System, the only program effectively balancing strength, flexibility and fitness so you can unleash your inner athlete. Get daily coaching by us, plus our Epic Foundations Prep program and revolutionary structural balance blueprint to create your ideal program and optimize your performance. Guys, as a valued listener, we usually give you a month free access, but we're doing something better this week. On Friday, for 1 week, you can get a lifetime 50% discount on our online coaching. We only do this offer twice per year. Be ready to subscribe on Friday. The deal kicks off. Before we get started, warm welcome. If you're on the live stream in the UMS Movement Mastermind Facebook group, leave a comment and we'll send you back some love. Remember, anyone can join and interact. And lastly, we want to give a big shout out to our YouTube athletes catching the replay. Hit the like button, support the channel and subscribe if you like what you see. Folks, tribe, ladies and gentlemen, joining us today is Nalesh Murthy from ADPT Physio, business partner to Phil. How are you today, Nalesh?
Good, mate. Good. Thanks for having me again.
Right.
Be here and let's do this.
We're super psyched. This is going to be a cracker. We've got Grace Clements on the live stream. We'll send you back some love, Grace. If you are on the live stream, let us know if you play a sport or you've ever been a professional athlete. I know we got a few in the tribe, so if you are watching, let us know. We'd love to know what your sport is, what your sport of choice is, and if you're still playing. And we want to talk to you about load management today and the psychology that sort of separates athletes and the rest of us. So, what does that mean for you, Rad?
Well, it's a near and dear subject to me because I got it really wrong for a long time. I definitely had the all or nothing mentality for decades. It was a really, and unfortunately for me, I did martial arts and in traditional martial arts, in my experience, that is absolutely the way that you're coached. It's like you do it, and this is it, you do it. There's no really sort of middle ground for it. At least that's the mentality I got, even though when I reflect back, my sifu did give me some better advice than I took on board, but that's how I interpreted it, and I had an all or nothing mentality for ages, and my journey was frustrating because the all or nothing mentality really leads you to believe that if you're not giving your all, then you're doing nothing. That's kind of how it sort of translates in your mind, and that can be really disheartening because you'll go through like 2 weeks or so where you're not giving it your all and you're just doing your best and you beat yourself up for it. But that's best case scenario really, because worst case scenario, the all or nothing mentality leads you to injury, and I experienced both of those outcomes. And so this is learning how proper periodization works, which is funny because it's nothing new, right? Like we learned this stuff when we were doing our Cert 4 in personal training years ago, but you learn so much when you're doing that course or any course really that, you only retain so much of it, right? But over the years, hearing enough coaches, talk to me about this and reading some really, really great books led me to creating not only micro, meso and macro cycles for myself, but for the members at Unity Gym and for our UMS online coaching group. And it's led to some great results, and to have some conversations with Nalesh, which is what we're here for now, so that all our listeners can hear this. It's reassuring to hear how the best of the best in Australian rules football do it, and how similar it is to our approach,
Yeah, well, I think the trend of, go hard, go home still continues. Not in the sporting world, but I reckon all over as well. Are you sore? Nah, you've been training hard enough.
Yeah.
Did you pull up sore? Oh, mate, we'll add an extra set or rep.
Yeah.
To exercise. But I think the big contrast is everyone sees, all these footballers, they must train hard because come game day, they're running hard, they must train hard during the week. Well, no, the game day is training. In season, they only play once a week. The rest of the week's about recovery, psychology, getting your goals right for the week, what you're doing for recovery. So you're actually working on game day. But like we've highlighted before, it's how they get there. They don't go in first week of pre-season, train 10-hour days. First week they roll in, they probably do 2-3 sessions max, and ties in easily. As an everyday person, they come in, you train 2-3 days a week, not make a goal of I've got to train 6 days a week.
Yeah, haven't trained for a month or two. I've got to train 6 days a week to make up for it. Yeah.
0 to 6, that's a 60 or 90% increase in 7 days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you've got to build it up, and I think that's the biggest difference. The training load, training exposure, or the training blocks, or the mesocycles and so forth, in the world of sport, it's calculated and fed in. And then listeners are now going, well, I don't have time to calculate it. It's not about calculating, it's being aware. So if you're going to go 6 days, it's just stepping back going, should I be doing 6 days if I've done 0 days?
Yeah.
What's a reasonable number? I think a 20% rule comes in really well. Let's start off 2 days.
Yeah.
The week after, let's add another day in. And let's build those 3 days up.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big difference of just a quick shine on that. So.
And it's interesting that you to hear you give your 2 cents at the start of what you just said there about the all or nothing mentality. It actually made me remember, the way that we for the life of Unity Gym, this is our 8th year of operation. We've actually only been doing these micro, meso, and macro cycles probably for the last 2 years, I'd say. Wouldn't you agree, Yoni? Like with our tribe, like we didn't used to do that. We used to just do 4-week programs. We didn't have deload weeks. We didn't do testing weeks, things like that. And we started doing deload weeks because a lot of people were pulling up with chronic injuries. Just saying, like, some of our best students wouldn't come for a week, and then they'd come back and we'd ask them why, and they'd say, oh man, my shoulder was just really sore and I felt like I needed to have a break. And I'll just let me finish. It's funny though, when we started doing deload weeks and we started explaining to people, it took a long time for people to wrap their heads around it. And I remember some of our highest performers, I'd say, how'd you go? What'd you do yesterday? Oh yeah, I went in and did a workout at another gym last night because, yesterday morning I just didn't feel like I really got pushed hard enough in the session. And it took me so long to get through to people and say, that's the idea. This is 1 week out of 6 and you're meant to leave the gym feeling like you barely scratched the sides, because that's how recovery works, that's how adaptation works. And it just took so long for people to start going, okay, so you're meant to go easy this week,
I'll tell you exactly how it happened, because it was sort of like that, but and that was one of the catalysts. But we built a gym and a culture where people took their training a little bit more seriously than what I was used to with most of the group offerings. And when we made the transition, and it was a slow transition from personal training only to then offering a semi-private option, which was groups of 6 people. And then we launched, group training, and we'd launched group training a little bit before that, and it was happening at the back of the gym. But the group training was like every other group option. It was just sort of a workout that we did. The only difference was that we didn't change the workout every day. We did a different style of workout every day, but they stayed the same for 4 weeks so that people had a chance to adapt to the stimulus before we'd change it up again. But there was no real thought to periodization, because it was just a group sort of boot camp style workout, and there was no thought to recovery and this and that. And the reason was because, most groups, you get people that come 2 or 3 times a week. But we had created a gym culture where people came every day, and we noticed very quickly, people are turning up to this and going all out, because the groups were really high intensity every day. And we thought we need to apply what we applied to personal training, like proper program periodization. If people are going to turn up every day, then we have to manage load. Yeah. And what we then had to do was actually encourage people to only train to about 70% of their capacity, 60 or 70%, if they're going to be consistent every day, which we love. I'm a huge fan of training consistency and frequency over intensity. And I've watched how that applies to professional. I've watched that mostly with fighters. There's really great examples of weightlifters and fighters who train every day, but only to a lower intensity, and outperform people at the end of the year, at the end of the block, as opposed to the people who go balls to the wall once or twice a week, and then see how they're faring after a 12-month period, And so, and there is a time and a place for balls to the wall, and as Nalesh said earlier, it's game day. It's when you compete, and that's why I think it's a great time to have a means to express that and to compete. And a lot of people don't have that in the gym, and so they get a little bit confused. They turn up to the gym every day and it's game day every day because they're training with their mates, and it's like who's going to bench the heaviest,
and
or who's going to squat
if you're doing WODs or AMRAP workouts or something where there's a scoreboard and people are really wanting to get their name up on that scoreboard. That's when things can really start to be problematic for people.
And that's right. And there's no structure to it, and they haven't thought it out. It's just game day every day.
Yeah.
And we made this transition because we noticed, okay, we've created this amazing culture where everyone takes their training seriously, and it's really unheard of to miss a day or skip a day, and we've created this amazing program that spans 5 days. How do we manage load now? Because a lot of these people are still trying to come and go balls to the wall every day. They go out and they absolutely obliterate themselves on the weekend, consuming shitty calories, alcohol, bad food, and they turn up on Monday and try to undo what they did over the weekend, and then they try to carry that intensity throughout the entire week. And so we then went really hard at the programming side of things, and then applied that to our groups, and eventually eliminated all other training. We don't do personal training or semi-private, we only do the groups, and we treat it like a personal training session.
Yeah.
We treat it with the same philosophies, the same principles of program periodization, and miraculously we get amazing results.
It works. And so Nalesh, if we talk about this training psychology, this all or nothing approach versus professional athletes. So the all or nothing approach, what we mean by that is team or tribe. If you've heard this but you're not really sure about what we mean, it's this idea of where you go from, like, this is an extreme example, but we see extreme examples all the time. So, Joe Blow is 30 pounds overweight, and he hasn't exercised for 3 or 4 months, and he's been telling himself he's going to do something about it ever since he was 10 pounds overweight. And all of a sudden, he's 30 pounds overweight now, or whatever goal you want. You've lost muscle, you want to put on 10 kilos, but whatever your goal is. And you go from, oh my God, how did I get to this place? I'm doing it. I'm going to the gym 6 days a week. I'm going to do it. I'm going to nail these goals in the next 2 or 3 months, and lo and behold, 2 weeks into it, and they're injured, and they're back to square one, maybe even square minus one. How does that approach differ? Like that psychology of, I haven't done anything for ages. I need to get some results now. I'm going to go all in on it. How does that differ from a professional athlete?
I think we'll use a pre-season or a start of training block as an example. When guys come to us, we all pretend they're that 30-pound overweight athlete. We assume they've done nothing, and we build them up. So the guys come in, example, if they're trained 3 times a week, they won't be doing 10K sessions Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It'll probably be a 6K session.
Yep.
That's a big drop, isn't it, for an athlete? So they build themselves up, and the week 2, they'll go from a 6K to a 7.5K. Again, you get that progressive overload there. And they'll keep building till they hit the 4th, 5th week, and then comes a little dip when they might have a Friday off, or they might just do 2 sessions. So that's the big contrast there. They've built their way up to the top, dip off, recover, and go again.
Yeah, have a deload.
Exactly. So at the moment, it's funny, this conversation's coming up this week, all the players get Thursday to Monday off. They've gone non-stop. When I say non-stop, 3 days a week training from November.
When does the season start?
In end of March.
End of March, okay. So this is, if you're listening to this podcast later, we're recording this on the 16th of February, so we're talking about 6 weeks away, right? Correct. Starts in about 6 weeks, yeah. So 6 weeks is game 1 for a how many game season?
That's pre-season, right?
Pre-season's
Yeah.
Pre-season's finishing.
Oh, pre-season's finishing, yeah,
So
right.
22 games. So if you don't understand Australian rules football, these guys are going to be playing for basically half a year, 1 game a week every weekend.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah, and then they've obviously trained from November to now. They'll have decent 4 weeks off. You see family, you get your steaks, your burger, just go back living life, and then they come back and they go back in training, but they don't go back to training the way they left off. They'll be reintroduced and rebuild back up and to that top level or to the upper little ceiling they've got. I think that's the biggest thing I see, even in the private sector. People come in, yeah man, I've been training 3 weeks straight, but can't do it, my shoulder's sore, you just get sore. Okay, so yeah, I do upper body every day. So when does your upper body get to rest?
Yeah.
It doesn't. But I'm doing chest though, it's not shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like, I know it's a little example, but that's the same thing with our players. If they're running Monday, they're doing straight line base running, or say it's change of direction on Monday. On Wednesday, the focus will be straight line stuff. So again, they're still doing running, but a different stimulus. They've got a chance to recover from their knees, their joints and knees. And Friday they might have, instead of running, they'll be more footy style and contact. So, and then even in the gym, there's changes and contrasts put in place. So.
So obviously it's all built up, and there's a focus in every day, and I think you guys do that really well here in the program. There's a focus changes every day, and guess what? People are training every day, but the focus is upper body, push, pull. And it's the same kind of system or method or philosophy or culture, and call it, we do in sport. The guys will do, a gym session that's upper body focused, and the next day they'll do a lot. So again, it's mixed up, and yes, they're doing stuff, but like Yanni highlighted, it's not the intensity. They still rock up and they do what they need to do at 100%, but the intensity is always varied. Does that make sense? So if you rock up, you're there. You got to go. Work hard. You've got 6 reps, you do 6 reps, not 4 reps. Does that make sense? Like the intensity is there, but again, it's all varied and loaded. So
and it's the all or nothing mentality versus the professional athlete and the psychology. We've now said this a couple of times in the show because we just love this quote from you, and whether you made it up or not, I recommend that you take credit for it on this show. But it's not the load that injured you; it's the way you got there.
It's not high load,
And if you don't understand, I get that might make a lot of sense to us being coaches, but maybe for our listeners, you're not really understanding what that is. But load is the combination of volume and intensity. So intensity means, in terms of weightlifting, it's how heavy you lifted. If you go from 50 kilos on a barbell to 60 kilos, you've increased the intensity. If you go from 50 to 4, you've decreased the intensity. Volume would refer to how many reps or how many sets you do. So if you go from doing sets of 8 reps to sets of 10 reps, you've increased volume. If you go from sets of 8 down to sets of 5, you've decreased the volume. But the same will go for running, Like you can increase the intensity of running by going from 6-minute kilometres down to 5-minute kilometres. You've just increased the intensity of that run. And, you can increase the volume by doing a 5K run to a 7K run or whatever. So load is the combination of both of those things. And people often talk about, that exercise is bad for me, or that's a bad exercise, you don't do that because it causes too many injuries. And it's rarely the case. Sometimes it is, but it's rarely the case. It's more how you got there as an individual. And the way that a professional athlete gets there, from what I'm hearing from Nalesh, is there is very, very intelligent load management and a lot of grit, a lot of hard work, a lot of intelligence with your training, a lot of pushing yourself to get to that level. But you compare that to the psychology of the all or nothing person, which is just like the worst load management you could handle. And it's a really important thing. Like, even when I hear this stuff, like it makes me reflect on my training. It makes me always reconsider, what have I done in the last 6 months that could have got me to where I am, that I could have done better? And I'm always looking for that 1% personally, and I think it is really important for our listeners to hear somebody like you with your amount of skin in the game and think, well, these are professional athletes we're talking about here. We're talking about people that are probably genetically gifted already. Their genetics are really gifted to start with, but then they're also young, they're at the right age, and they're some of the hardest workers they've gotten there. And if they're training smarter and maybe less than we are, maybe we should.
I think it's funny you've highlighted, your strength lifts and how we talk about how we get there. So guys see videos on Instagram, blah, blah, deadlifted, or trap bar deadlifted 280 kilos. Remember, he did that once for 2 reps in a 6-week block. So an example is when our boys come in, they lift, and there's videos on Instagram and so forth. These NFL boys lift so much. I'm sure his first week he lifted 110. Week after 140, 160, and he's built his way up. And again, the reps started high, and it lowered as the weight went up. So same thing. Our boys do the same thing, same method, exactly how we do it. So, and that's the thing. You don't have to be an athlete to do it. We can do it. We just need to dial back and be aware and apply it.
I've done, I mean, there's videos on our Instagram page of Yanni. What's your best squat that we've got on Instagram? Is it 200 or 180 or?
I don't know, probably 180.
Yeah, about 180. Yeah, my best squat is 170, which was double my body weight at the time. I'm 85 kilo, well, 87 now. But I wouldn't go out and try a 170 kilo squat now because I haven't been working on barbell squats for a while, and
Exactly.
and it's in the bank. It's there for me to withdraw if I want to, but I have to do some work to get to there again, you know. And when I did that 170, I didn't go up to the bar one day and go, oh, let's see what I can do. I did a very, very specific program for maximal strength for several weeks, and at the end of it, it was okay, let's see what I can lift safely, and I worked up to it. Within that one workout, I did 140, no worries, 150, no worries, 160, no worries, let's try 170, banged it out. I did it so easily, I actually tried 180, didn't get back up, but you know, it was a safe dump for me. And so, you know, you can even see examples of what Nalesh has just said on our Instagram page by looking at Richard, Yanni or me doing our bests. But that's not how we train.
That's not every day. You're not doing 170 every day.
No way.
That's why I say, see that example. Said athlete ran 14 Ks that week, but remember he doesn't do that every day.
Yeah.
No, like, but it's the spotlight that unfortunately sways us to the let's do it like them. Let's train every day. Let's train every hard. It's not realistic, and you burn out. That's another thing. That's another. You know, it's yes, you get injured, but then you burn out. After a month, I can't do 6 days a week.
Yeah.
Can't get to work on time. Can't see the kids, and
I think it's important to really highlight this, and I'm repeating myself here, but not only are you looking at an athlete at the end of a training cycle when you see those big lifts or when you see those big runs or when you see game day or whatever, but you've got to remember that you are also looking at a genetically gifted person in their prime. I mean, maybe an athlete, sometimes they're at the end of their career, but these are the best of the best, you know. So not only are you comparing what you can do versus somebody in their best, you're comparing yourself to the best of the best.
Yeah.
So we have to take it with a grain of salt, and you know, you've just got to develop try to get out of this all or nothing mentality and move into a you know, just you versus you mentality, and do what you need mentality, and the best win you can have. What we always tell people at Unity Gym is the best win that you can have is just to turn up to the gym and do something. It doesn't have to be your best. It's just turn up and be here and do something, you know.
Yeah.
And if you do something that doesn't cook you and allows you to come back tomorrow and for the whole 5 days or 4 days, whatever you can do, and then do that again next week.
Yeah.
And then that's where the big wins.
Well, the other element that we're working with. So first and foremost, big lesson here, big take home, progressive overload is key to everything, whether you're a professional athlete or us. You have to approach everything progressively. But the second thing that we have to work with here is that we're not paid to work out and we're not paid to play, and so we have to motivate ourselves. It's a different type of motivation, and you know, motivation is one of those things that you can't always rely on, and so what we do to overcome that or hack that system is create habits, and habits will generally trump motivation. You know, if you've got a habit, if you've got a strong habit, then if you're unmotivated, you're still likely to do that thing. And so that's what we work on with our tribe, and that's why we have a 5 or 6 day a week program. But that doesn't mean, like, there's no way that we could expect or put the expectation on our guys to come in and train at full capacity every single day. We have a trade-off where we're like, okay, what's more important is that they build a habit so that we don't have to rely on their motivation to keep training. So we get them to build a habit of coming to the gym every day, 5 and even 6 days a week for the senior guys. But then we moderate their intensity by, you know, teaching them that you're not training to a super hard intensity every single day. And I actually encourage guys, when I'm sort of mentoring people, to pick one thing that they're really working on, and that's the day that they go all out. And the rest of the day, it's really moderated. It's like, okay, don't go too silly. And if you've got a skill that you're working on, like for me, I'm working on hand balancing mostly, and sort of press to handstand, and I would love to be able to do a stall to press to handstand one day. So that's the skill that I'm working on, and I go all out on that skill. And you know, I even stuffed it up a little bit last week, where I did more work than I'm meant to do because I just felt good, and I got a bit carried away, and I did a little bit more work than I usually do on a day where I was doing heavy bench pressing as well, and it fucked my shoulder. You know, I just overloaded my rotator cuff, and I sort of injured myself on that day, and that was only last week. And so, you know, even the best of us get it wrong sometimes, this load management thing, you know. But I think that's what people just need to understand, you know, managed load, progressive overload.
Man, the worst injury that I've had in the last couple of years is what Nalesh is helping me with now, the slap tear on my left shoulder. And I did that from doing a PB on a bench on Monday or Tuesday, 110 kilos for 2 reps, and I did it nicely. Richard was there to spot me, but I got the reps out myself. Fried myself, didn't think of it at the time, and the next morning I came in and I just did a face-to-wall handstand, meaning I can do a freestanding handstand and a press to handstand, and I just did a feet-supported wall handstand and did a slap tear while I was holding it there because the load, I was just so fried and I didn't think about it, and it was in the morning the next day, and I just couldn't believe it. Like, reflecting back on it now, it was just such a lesson for me on load management. But you got any final thoughts on this one, Nalesh?
No, well, it's all a learning curve. You got to get it wrong to you know know the rights. But I think the most important thing is there's you got to remember athletes have the right support staff around them, and having this, you know, you also have, to our listeners, the right support staff around you in terms of training, programming, loading, and again, jump on Google. Yep. Google's your biggest support staff. I'm sure you can find a lot of, you know, registered, published articles that can give you a bit of education, or even contact us. But you just need the right support staff for someone to guide you. But as soon as you get education, you do your wrongs, you understand, and you go from there. Yeah,
I think it is a never-ending journey to understand how to get this right. And my final thought would be that recovery, which means basically that what you do between your training sessions is so much more important than what you think it is. It plays such a vital role in your development, your physical capabilities. And if you don't understand how to get that right by using micro, meso and macro cycles and deload weeks and periodization and progressive overload and adaptation and all that stuff, if you don't understand that, then seek out some help. You know, get your head around it.
Sounds good. Sounds good. We're going to bring this one in for a landing, Tribe, and jump over to the daily group coaching call in the UMS online coaching group. If you are part of that group, jump over there now. We're going to keep the discussion of training psychology going for the rest of the week. We're going to be talking about supercompensation tomorrow. Today, we sort of framed the need for progressive overload. So get ready for that one, and we will see you all on the UMS Movement Mastermind group and the Sound of Movement podcast and the YouTube channel tomorrow. Health is about performance, not just body image.
You better be willing to accept what you're going to have to do to get there.
We'll start focusing on movement goals, strength goals, flexibility goals.
When you nail that skill, that's there forever.
The body image goal doesn't get you that far.
It's the consistency and frequency that's going to get you there. It's not the intensity.
There's no shortcuts to mastery and movement. Destination doesn't change overnight, but your direction will.
The gym is not the place to beat up the body that you hate. It's the place to build the body that you love.
We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise, because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image.